Okay. I intend to record a video about home economics, as you can see. The video is not very structured in my mind, but I have prepared some documents that I intend to share. And it will be partly ordered, a little bit chaotic in the sense that I intend to improvise, but I know what I will talk about. So I intend to talk about home economics, namely how to take care of your household, to put order in your home, in your room. But I will begin by a formal presentation. As I start recording this, we are the 3rd of April 2023, and because of the very structure of the internet, when documents or ideas or videos become public, whether through books or through videos or through podcasts or whatever, they can be accessed. So I don't know when you, the viewer, other than myself, will watch this. I don't know when I will post or publish the video, and maybe it will take many weeks, maybe many months or years, I don't know, before you watch this. But I intend to share a simple, accessible view of ethics, namely how to behave in everyday life to order your immediate environment. I will start promoting some books. An excellent book by Mr. Bylund about economics and truth. Maybe it has to be reminded. Truth doesn't get old. If it's true, it can be formulated differently by using different means of expressing the truth. But the fundamental determination, if they are correct, they are true for everyone, everywhere, at all times. So this book, I'm not saying that everything is true, but it contains a significant amount of truth about economics and the economy at large. And I have been reading this for the past many days, couple of weeks even, more than a couple of weeks, and it has inspired me in my attempt to become an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, they bring creative destruction. And my intention is to revolutionize home economics. So entrepreneurs, in order to be successful, they have to bring products or services, goods or services on the market to satisfy consumers, to bring value. So what I intend to share in this video is an ordered and simplified view of ethics for the everyday life in one's own household, and even concerning civic life. So I do not sell my services. They will be made available for free, and maybe it will inspire people. So that was Per Bylund. Of course, it's inspired. The reason why I bought this sweatshirt is to share messages. Simply, if my videos are too long or too boring, if you don't want to hear me talk, just look at my shirt. That's the message of the video. You can stop the video here. That's a new way of communicating. I do not intend to go on TikTok to make 30 seconds long video clips, but my TikTok way of communicating, I bought t-shirts and sweatshirts. More about that later. So here's the message of the video. If you are interested in the content, you can watch more thoroughly. Clean your room. Of course, Mr. Peterson is much more intelligent and profound than just the slogan "clean your room," but that's very useful for a generation which has become a little bit lost and a little bit without structure and without a little bit helpless. So to grow up, to become more responsible, consists in being able to do something as simple as ordering one's own immediate environment. And here I will share this document. UPS, universal, particular, singular. These are logical determination. Every human being, or actually everything, is a singular thing or a singular object, or in the case of human, these are subjects, which contain within itself particularities, particular determination that each singular shares with other singulars of the same class, the same species, one might say, and which differentiates them from other singulars. And the universal is valid for all particulars and all singulars. And here, to illustrate with a nice picture, that's another way. Every singular object or human or anything is a singular with many determination. Here that's in orange, many characteristics, many properties, which are unique to the singular. But each singular object or each singular human has also particular determination. They are less numerous than the unique aspect, but they are contained within the singular and they are shared with others. And universal determinations, they are even less numerous within each singular, but they are more extended, one might say. Every woman is a singular woman with particular characteristic, age, ethnicity, class, many others, native language, whatever, and contains within herself the universal determination of womanhood. The idea of womanhood lives in every singular woman. And the same is true with men and with every object. This is a singular book written by Bylund. It has the particularity of being about economics, and the universal could be a theoretical book. There are theoretical books about physics, chemistry, biology, sociology, politics, psychology, etc. This is the universal could be, for instance, a theoretical book. The particularity would be economics, and the singular would be how to think about the economy. It works for every object. Yeah, that's what I had to say. Now, what do I want to say? So yeah, a little bit. So since this video is about here, I will just show the first document. That's not the document I intend to share, but that's just the introduction. Clean your room, the universal. Do we see? The universal. That's just what we said. The universal. Clean your room means the universal will be order. The singular, it is for each singular person to clean his or her own room. And the particular, every person lives in a particular in a singular room, one might say, but in a particular type. A room, a tipi, an atrium for the Romans of antiquity, a yurt for the Mongols, a maloka for some African tribes, a dacha for the corrupt member of the Soviet bureaucracy, an igloo for the Inuits. So that's an illustration. Clean your room. It is expressed by Mr. Peterson in the context of the modern Western world for a generation of helpless young males. But it can be universalized. If you are an Inuit person, remember to clean your igloo. But the Inuit, in this day and age, they are not as decadent as Westerners. If they still live in igloos, usually they know how to handle the igloo. And the same for whatever type of home or household you live in. But in the Western world, the decadence of individual discipline is specific to the modern Western world. Yeah. So yeah, that's illustration, and here I illustrate with cultural references because I intend to promote my ideas. I did not borrow this. I mean, of course, I draw a lot of inspiration from a lot of people, but the document that I will share, these are really my ideas. It's a singular individual, and this is my contribution to restoring order as of now. Yeah. I don't rap. If we don't see the lyrics, so that's okay. You can listen to the song. These are songs which talk about household economics. This is the Greek goddess of the household, Hestia. And here, books. I haven't read these books, but I promote them nonetheless. Let Me Be a Woman by Elizabeth Elliot, Make Moms Great Again by Linda Lineker, Women and the Common Life by Christopher Lasch, an American sociologist. My name is Chelis and I'm in recovery from Western civilization. That's an ecological book. Fascinating Womanhood from Ellen Endelin. I owe this book to Stella. Less is More, How Degrowth Will Save the World. That's an ecological book as well. Here we have The Guide to Daily Life, an introduction to Puritanism, Everyday Anarchy by Stefan Molyneux, and Pursue the Cause of Liberty by Ron Paul. So here, I haven't read, I read the book by Ron Paul, but I haven't read the other books. So I promote books that I haven't read, but that's part of intellectual maturity, one might say, to share ideas. Whether one agrees or not, it stimulates the interest for thinking, debating, instruction, etc., etc. Yeah, but I know these are good books, a lot of them, most of them at least. So yeah, what I wanted to say, the reason why I've been thinking about ethics, and I intend to promote my view of ethics within the realm of the household, is because I'm seeking to find solution to a problem. Namely, as I record this, and it's been more than a year, there is a war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. How to stop the war? That's very difficult. One has to be able to speak about certain topics, which means the American Constitution, which guarantees free speech. So the question is how to secure and preserve and promote and expand liberty. And what I intend to say is that in order, for me it's very clear, but in order for a people, that's very self-evident for someone like Ron Paul, in order for a society, a civilization, a people, or individuals to be free, to live freely, there has to be order and discipline. It's very evident, it's self-evident, but the modern ideology of the Western world consists in saying that constraints, social constraints or individual constraints, self-restraint is alienating, whereas a philosophical view, that's basic philosophy, is actually liberating, because in order to be free, it doesn't mean to do whatever you want spontaneously, because usually your spontaneous desires, not always, but most of them, they are inherited from nature, which means the biological tendencies, which means it is not you who acts, it is your impulses, your rough tendencies, your desires, your basic instincts, which act through you, and you have to discipline them. You have to master yourself. You have to work on yourself in order to be able to control your tendencies. And this is liberating. Namely, it is through discipline. That would be the Puritans in a way. It is through discipline and work on oneself and self-restraint that liberty can be attained on an individual level, which is what enables order to be established within society. There can be no ordered society, and therefore no free society and no just society, without individual discipline. Of course, not all the members can be as disciplined at the same time, or all of them with the same intensity, but there has to be stable elements, so order and liberty, they are not opposed, they complement one another. There can be no freedom without discipline, actually. It's very self-evident. Every civilization, every era of Western civilization, and every civilization has always known this, except the modern West since the 1960s with sexual liberation, which has brought about complete alienation, because people, if they do whatever they want without exerting without exerting individual restraint, they project onto society through collectivism and socialization, through laws and legislation and regulation, their own lack of self-restraint, and it is eventually the taxpayer who has to finance the individual deficiencies or vices of individuals. I'll talk about this later. Yeah. So there can be no freedom, no liberty for the individual and for society at large without self-discipline, and it begins with home economics and ethics. And also about the global village, since thoughts and ideas are made accessible by the very nature of the medium that the internet is, accessible in real time, potentially to everyone. That's the global village. I will speak as we need a collective ethics for the global village, but because of UPS, it's not a set of rules that every person on this planet has to follow rigorously, because the universal has to be the same for everyone eventually. That's the Kantian view of ethics. Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, in order for a behavior to be moral, to be ethical, it has to be universalizable. It has to be potentially the principle which guides the behavior can be and has to be and ought to be universal, but the universal, it's not an abstraction, it particularizes itself, namely it has to adapt to each particularity, ethnic group, age, gender, geographical era, culture, economic situation, etc., etc. But the fundamental principles, the universal principles, they have to be precisely universal, and then each singular person has to adapt. But of course, one cannot expect the same behavior from people with their different particularities, and between every singular individual, depending on his level of intelligence, his age, his maturity, his abilities, his health, etc., etc. But the fundamental principles, they ought to be universal. So, because also, that's the introduction. If I had to define myself, I would say that I am a process, which means I contain within myself all the previous steps of my own individual development, which is connected with the rest of the world through ideas, the economy, culture, etc., etc. So here I said we are the 3rd of April 2023 when I record this video, and maybe my view will have changed, probably in the coming days, weeks, months, I don't know, it will change, but it will probably have changed, be refined. Maybe I will have given up on some views, maybe I will have incorporated others, but the universal has to remain the same, and I am not fully conscious of it yet, but it is your job, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you are interested, to refine, to adapt to your own particular situations. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, so now a little bit of virtue signaling. Virtue signaling is a moral weapon that predominantly white people use to gain influence onto other whites by signaling their virtue. So here I have listed a few vices and addictions that I have given up on. No junk food, no fast food, less fat, less fat, salt, sugar, no soft drinks except fruit juice that I make myself, or organic fruit juice. I don't drink coffee, I don't eat candies, chocolate, I don't eat sweets except cakes sometimes. I don't drink alcohol. German beer is okay, I made an exception. I haven't drunk alcohol for more than a year, with a few exceptions. Once, no, I haven't drunk alcohol for, I think, since the month of May 2022, except a beer to celebrate Christmas, a German beer. Yeah, no cigarettes, no drugs. That's a song by Kesha. No porn for more than a year. No masturbation for more than a year. I don't go to nightclubs. No hookup culture, no casual sex, no money gambling games, no TV. I haven't watched TV consistently for more than 10 years. I don't have a TV. I haven't been to the cinema or to the movies, to the theater to watch movies for more than 14 years, I would say. I don't play video games any longer. No tattoos, no piercing, no hair coloring, no compulsive buying. I still compulsively buy books, but this is for the sake of communicating knowledge, and eventually I will give them away, most of them, but otherwise I have stopped this. No social media for teenagers, no professional sports, and less perfectionism. This is why the formal aspect of my videos is a little bit garbage, because I have given up on perfectionism. Yeah, so here I will talk about this document later, but here I do a little bit of virtue signaling, and yeah. And here I make a joke. It's not a joke, but humans, I'm starting to understand how they function. Whenever you adopt virtuous behavior publicly, precisely that's the interest of virtue signaling, some humans, they are impressed, and I'm a little bit like, I thought about this earlier, the father of Ronald Weasley in the Harry Potter series, who is fascinated by muggles. I'm fascinated by humans sometimes because, for instance, I do a little bit of virtue signaling. When you go out and you pick up the trash in the street, some people, they praise you. They say, oh, but you don't have to do this. Why do you do this, etc., etc. It's very easy to impress humans. You just have to be a little bit virtuous. It doesn't require a lot of effort, and then they are impressed. Yeah. So I say this to everyone: practicing virtue or claiming virtue, but actually it's better if you practice what you claim. Otherwise it's not virtue, it's just hypocrisy. But if you are really virtuous, it is a good means to earn a social status, a reputation, etc., etc. Very easy to manipulate these muggles. Yeah. So now now I will present the document, because this is not the document that I intend to present, but I will seriously show the documents. This has been a tremendous source of inspiration, not just this book, but Ron Paul. And now I will show my documents and to explain the importance of home economics within a full view of the totality, one would say. Also, I promote books that I haven't read, but I've ordered this book. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything, but The Great Jihad is a struggle against the self to acquire discipline and responsibility and self-restraint and moral character, by Khomeini. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything that he says, because I haven't even read the book, but The Great Jihad in Islam. Yeah, I will briefly talk about ethics while showing my documents. Is a moral and spiritual struggle against oneself, for self-improvement and for individual discipline. And in this sense, I can only encourage people, or whatever their religion or lack thereof, to struggle against themselves for the better. because this is what I've been doing consistently for more than a year, and that's what I intend to continue to do. I promote books that I do not necessarily agree with or that I haven't even read, but precisely in a free society one ought to be able to confront ideas in a peaceful way, in a diplomatic way, and this is what enables the strengthening of intelligence, of collective intelligence, and the expansion of an intellectual horizon. Yeah. This is part of ideas which used to be common sense in classical Western civilization, which have become revolutionary in the modern West. Just the idea that you can tolerate views that you are not necessarily spontaneously in agreement with, or maybe you will discover that actually you are in agreement because maybe the P is different but the U is the same, if the ideas are really good. So yeah, I don't have the time to read all the books that I buy, but I try to be intellectually open. Yeah. So here's my document. These are my ideas. This is my sweat and tears. I will show the document. It is designed to be of great help to put intellectual order within home economics. And I'm quite, if I'm honest, I would say I'm quite proud of this because I had never heard about this anywhere else. It's just my personal experience that I have structured. This is the view. I will just turn off the flashlight just so that we might see better. I will not comment. If people are watching this, no, it's been almost 30 minutes, I will show the documents and I will let you imagine what the purpose, what the use might be, what the interest might be, and I will let you think. Maybe I will make my videos a little bit more interactive. So, yeah, this is the full view. As I envision this at this moment in time, maybe it might change, of course it can be improved, but my view of home economics. So I will show the documents. Yeah, this is the document that I intend to comment during this video, and I haven't spoken here because if someone has watched this, what do you think it is? And you can reproduce the document on a paper or on your computer if it might help you, if you think this is useful. I haven't spent a whole lot of time figuring this out, but actually this is the result of, I would say, more than a year of growing up in all aspects of life, and especially the past few months where I have spent a whole lot of time focusing on really home economics while still trying to think rigorously about the world, but I have acted ethically, starting on a singular level, and this is the result of a structuring, the way I envision the formal structure of home economics, and I will spend probably the next few hours commenting more or less, not rigorously, but commenting in detail each of these determination. But here for me it seems like it's worthless. That's when an entrepreneur puts a new product on the market, it's not for sale, it's for free. But I do not I do not work for free. I work for freedom, but actually I work for free as well. But, I work for freedom actually. Yeah, for me it's very useful because I am autistic partly. I have Asperger and I have a tendency to systematize, categorize everything. I have a total view of everything. Eventually, when I get interested in something, in anything, I have a tendency to have a total view. When it's excessive, I have a tendency to become a little bit totalitarian, in a sense I want to understand everything, etc. But here it's just a total view, and hopefully it can help bring clarity. And that's how I envision growth and personal development. And this is home economics. For me, it's really an important contribution because it is the transition between subjektiver Geist, I will explain what this is, and objektiver Geist, which is the realm of institution, which is society, one might say. This is the transition, and in order for an individual to be structured and ordered and disciplined, and in order for a society to be structured, ordered and disciplined, there has to be order at all levels, and it begins at home, one might say. And a well-ordered room, a room which has been cleaned and ordered, not just brush the toilet, sweep the floor or flush the toilet or brush the dishes. No, but structure and order one's own immediate environment and one's own psyche is the condition which makes order and therefore the possibility of liberty on a collective scale. Yeah. So I will just switch the document, but I will come back to this document later. But yeah, then to show the documents. Also, I intend to promote a new way of communicating. I share my full view of the modern world and the development of ideas, the zeitgeist, the development of spirit. I will not rigorously and thoroughly comment this document because I already have, and I will continue to do so differently. But what happens in the modern world, in the West, especially in the United States of America, but actually in every Western country, is a switch from the ideas that we find, which are actually the determinations of being, but also the determinations of thought that we find on this side. It's not very rigorous, it's not complete, etc. But there is a switch from broadly these views. There's a switch towards the right, that's the zeitgeist, towards these views. This is what we see in the alternative media, but actually this is the spirit of the times, one might say. Yeah. Yeah. And here are the determination. I will talk about this later. And what I talk about in this video, libertarianism, autonomy, individualism, yeah, and probably disenfranchised young whites or non-whites who have been either brainwashed or rendered helpless by an excess of welfare states, an excess of socialism. But I also talk about ecology. Yeah, so yeah. The reason why I show this document, and I tend to show this document in a lot of my coming videos, also I will talk about virtue and marriage. is because if every person who talks publicly took the time to show, even very briefly, his or her own worldview, it will simplify and clarify communication, because at least one would know, okay, what does this person know? How does he or she envision the world? Here, that's a brief summary of the phenomenal appearance of mind and spirit in the modern world. Yeah. Here, this is my view. I've slightly modified to simplify, actually, my view of nature, namely the objective world, namely the world of time, space, and matter. We have mechanics. I do not comment, but I simply, that's my new way of communicating. In my videos now, I will show, at least the videos which are vaguely structured, I will show the structure of the totality to help bring order in thought and mind. Nature is a totality which begins, not necessarily chronologically, although this is the story told by modern physicists, but begins in abstraction, matter and movement, and becomes more and more developed and more concrete, more and more complex, and the determinations which are found at the beginning, when I say the logical beginning, they are contained at all moments, but in a more concrete form. And yeah, that's a total view of nature. This is simply a logical ordering. I'm not sure, because I'm not an expert, but that's just, it enables to clarify. Yeah. I will not comment more, but simply I promote, as part of my entrepreneurial self, I promote a new way of communicating, a total way. Yeah. And here, the more interesting document. Did I already say that I was the anti-TikTok? TikTok, they make a lot of short videos which are most of the time very dumb. I am the opposite of TikTok. I offer an alternative to TikTok. Instead of watching 50 TikTok videos, you can watch one of my videos. It will make you smarter, probably. So here's my view of actually human societies, and it begins from a logical standpoint in the realm of what I call subjektiver Geist. So we have the climate, the season, the time of the day, sociobiological determination, anthropological, ethnographic determination, sexual differences, demographics, evolutionary psychology, the individual soul. So here it's basically human beings as natural beings, and what I intend to talk about in this video more thoroughly is home economics that we find here within the category of family. And here, these are the categories which structure human society: morality, order, law, rights, the budget of the state, politics, the government, money, banking, economics, sociology, communication, technology, geopolitics, environmentalism, globalism, plus art, religion, and philosophy. And a society is an institutional totality, namely a realm of laws, and whether they are written and known, like in the case of a constitutional setting, or whether these are moral laws, rules of behavior, conscious or unconscious. And the substratum, the foundation of a society is of course the people. The people is determined sociobiologically, anthropologically, with sexual differences, demographic,
ethnic differences. Here, these are the characteristics of each individual. I will talk about this in home economics, for instance, morphology, physiognomy, sleep, psychoanalysis, psychiatry, psychology, etc. The development of consciousness. Universal self is the sense of belonging, the search for recognition and the desire to belong to a group, identity politics, one might say in modern language. And here we have the individual soul, the psyche. So we have the realm of psychology. Language is the exteriorization of the inner feelings, emotion, representation, images, experiences, etc. Intelligence is the ability to think, to abstract, and to communicate intelligently, one might say. And that's the theoretical Geist, the theoretical aspect, and the practical aspect consists in exteriorizing the inner determinations, and it happens through the will. Praxeology is the science developed by Mises, Ludwig von Mises, one of the founder of the Austrian School of Economics. Praxeology is the praxe comes from the same as practical, means action or to act in ancient Greek. So intelligence, which is a byproduct of the soul, which is the byproduct of the individual, which is the byproduct of a people, which is the byproduct of nature. That's the transition from the natural tendencies of man to the more spiritual, in the sense of culture, morality, legislation, and eventually religion and philosophy. It is through the will and through action. So here the logical step goes as follows: from evolution, world soul, the world soul, evolutionary psychology, the individual soul, consciousness, psychology, language, intelligence, and liberty. And in order, that's what I said at the beginning of the video, in order for an individual and a society to be free, there has to be order, one might say, at all levels, or at most levels at least. And it is in the family, which is the bedrock of societies, whether this is the classical husband, wife, children family, or more extended family. It can be the tribe in some societies. And here home economics is here. And the determination which are contained here, they are found within the family unit, and they are being reflected within the whole of society. And everything is interconnected. And what I intend to talk about in this video is how to bring about order in home economics, which is also how to bring about order in the individual psyche. So if there is order, discipline, and one might say liberty on a singular level, it is the condition, the necessary condition for order and liberty to exist, to become manifest, to become present in the rest of societies. And disrupting morality, disrupting men and women relationship, disrupting economic, the market process. This is what Mr. Bylund talks about, disrupting the market process. It has negative consequences on the whole of society and eventually on the individual psyche, because it creates unemployment, corruption, moral decay, inflation, loss, opportunities, etc. And it has an impact upon individuals, so everything is interconnected. And I will not rigorously and strictly comment this document, but what I intend to talk about is the transition between subjectiver Geist and objectiver Geist, namely the transition between the individual psyche, the individual soul, and the rest of society, and the link, the connection between the two is precisely in the realm of home economics. And a well-functioning society can only function if all or most of the units which comprise and compose the societies are functional. So here, a little bit of logic. The reason which has pushed me unconsciously at first, but then consciously to structure my own life, to get my shit together, as they call this, is precisely because the whole and the parts, in order for the whole of society to function, to be ordered, and eventually to be just and free,
there has to be order within all the parts, but it's a reciprocal determination. A sick society produces sick, unhealthy, either physically, physiologically, or mentally, produces unhealthy individuals, and it reinforces itself in a way. But a healthy society tends to produce healthy individuals, and healthy individuals tend to produce a healthy society. So it's a Wechselwirkung in German, that's reciprocal determination. And I have here, that's a comment about my own personal life. I have spent many months working very intensely with almost no success. And I have realized that I have no power, no conscious power to influence others. The only power that I have as of now is to influence myself, to work on myself, to discipline myself, because I have not, of course, a full control over my body, because there are unconscious processes at work. This is what psychoanalysis talks about. But I can have control more. I can have more control over myself than others, and I can. That's my view. I can only influence others for the good by acting righteously and being a model. That's my view of leadership. I never intended to be a leader, but I just want to live freely and to be able to speak freely. And the requirements is personal discipline and to live in a healthy society. And I cannot tell others how to run their lives if my life is a mess. So I try to correct my life and to share my ideas, and it can influence maybe others for the better. And Mr. Bylund says this, the entrepreneurs, when they fail, it's bad for them, of course, and it appears as a negative aspect, because you lose what you have invested, etc. But it has a helpful impact upon others, because it gives a signal to other entrepreneurs. Don't do this, do something else if you want to succeed. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you succeed, you will inspire others to imitate you for the better. You will force them out of their slumber, to toughen up a little bit, you will force them to innovate, you will stimulate them, you will shake them out of their decadence if you succeed. And if you fail sometimes, it will inspire others to say, okay, we will not reproduce this, we will do something else. So that's the total view. Within the totality there is garbage sometimes, literally and symbolically or metaphorically, but it is useful nonetheless. That's this is Austrian economics, but actually that's the way Leibniz thought about metaphysics. That's a very German way of thinking. Yeah. So that's the introduction of all the documents. And now I will go back to my document about food economics. So yeah, just I repeat again, the purpose of this video and the reason why I share this document is really to try to help for myself, but eventually it can help others, really put order on a singular level, the transition between the individual soul, that would be psychology, the intelligence and the will, and to translate and to expand and to extend this. Actually, everything is connected, but to put order on whole economics, and really that's the condition of morality and ethics and of the restoration of a healthy society. Yeah. Here I will do a little bit of trash talking against socialism, because I've understood the trick. Socialism, I'm a child of socialism. tends to produce helpless, worthless, incompetent individuals, because precisely a collectivist society can only function by downgrading everyone. This is the glue that sticks people together in a really socialist economy and society eventually. Everyone feels worthless because equality is proclaimed, but if everything is equal, it means that everything is equally worthless. And the parasitical bureaucracy and the politicians and the manipulators, they can only suck up the vital energy, one might say, of the people if the people is dumbed down and rendered incompetent and worthless and stupid. Yeah, so it's a self-reinforcing process, and I would like to escape from this vicious circle. So I've decided to improve myself at all levels. Yeah. Because, socialism, I can testify that experimentally and empirically, it produces dependence, worthlessness, incompetence, because in a socialist society, everyone expects, consciously or unconsciously, society to take care of their problems, which means it creates an incentive for personal irresponsibility. The vices are paid for and cured through taxes, or actually not cured, they are reinforced and strengthened, but they are tolerated, they are made possible because there is no personal responsibility, because the burden of discipline is put on society, but through taxes and legislation, which is it's actually not discipline, it's oppression. And so to grow up is a process towards libertarianism. I've understood this. Socialism is a policy for children. Libertarianism is politics for adults, which is actually the absence of politics, the abolition of politics, because politics is just demagogy and manipulation of the helpless masses by promising free stuff, etc., to gain the confidence of the masses, to exploit them and manipulate them and downgrade them even further, and to attack every healthy tendency within society towards self-discipline, self-restraint, autonomy, self-sovereignty. That's a tautology, the sovereignty of the individual, competence, etc., etc. Yeah, I've understood this. So now a little bit of comedy. I'm not a comedian, I do not write jokes, but I think about funny stuff sometimes, and when I think about really funny jokes, I write them down and I say, okay, if I record a video, I will say the joke. Here's another joke, but my message, I should have begun with this. My message is deregulate the economy, regulate your behavior. That's a libertarian. You deregulate the economy, but a society can only be functional if individuals are regulated. That's the purpose of ethics. And what the West has been doing for the past 50 years, more or less, is the opposite. To regulate the economy through bureaucratic legislation, taxation, collectivization, etc., etc., and to deregulate individual behavior, to encourage degeneracy, basically. So we have, in most Western countries, a very fat bureaucracy and countless regulations, which are some sort of an attempt to fix the problem caused by moral degeneracy, namely people are encouraged to behave loosely without... I do not judge them, because that's what I have been doing for a significant portion of my life, namely since the the decline of religion, actually, and the expansion of the welfare state, people are encouraged, consciously or unconsciously, to behave without restraint, and all their individual vices. It's not a moral judgment, because every human being has certain vices, but the problem is when society takes care of everything through welfare redistribution, taxation, legislation, etc. The individual vices, they are collectivized, which brings about enormous economic problems, moral problems, psychological problems, and eventually a civilizational decline and decadence. Yeah. So yeah, now a little bit of comedy. I mean, it's not really funny, but it's not comedy, but we see. Because if I just speak, maybe that's boring, so I have to bring a little bit of entertainment. I will make a striptease for the sake of moral edification and ecological purposes. I will promote good ideas. My home economics has also an ecological aspect, as I will show. So yeah, it's not over. A little bit of demagogy, which is actually not demagogy, that's just intelligence. Inflation really is theft. It's caused by the expansion of the monetary supply by the central banks and the fractional reserve currency, the fiat money, etc. I could make a theoretical lecture on economics because precisely this is what I've been reading and thinking about. Yeah. That's not over yet. The joke, I did not write this joke, but that's what I thought about. I imagine a crowd of attractive women, vaguely intelligent or more intelligent than average. They say, but every time, they would say, if they watch this, but every time you take off a layer of clothes, you get better. Yeah, of course. We want to see more. That's the joke, basically. That's not really funny, but that's what I've been thinking about. Yeah, that's my new way of communicating. And here, another joke for the people who had been following me or who have been following me. Actually, that's not a joke, but it is the Germans, where they try to communicate. They are very profound people. They compile countless books and they think rigorously about the profound meaning of all things, metaphysically, etc., etc. This is what I've been doing, and I've completely failed to communicate. And the American way, that's what I thought about when I found this shirt. Basically, the typical American businessman, that's a little bit derogatory, but that's also a praise from a German perspective. He doesn't care about metaphysics, the categorical imperative, the universalization of ethics, etc. The typical American businessman, he just wants to make money. He notices there are these stupid, easily influenceable, white leftist, ecologically minded people. We can make a lot of money if we sell them poor quality t-shirts so that they can share their slogans. But actually, that's the comical aspect. this is what I've been trying to express for many months now, and what I have completely failed to express with my very complex metaphysics, inspired by Kant and Hegel. But actually, this is simply German metaphysics made intelligible. It's basically just Kantian ethics, because thought by its very nature, when it is true, is universal because it is abstract, and individual behavior, because it is the product of a singular individual, it can happen, most of the time it happens on a singular level because we act through our body and our mind, which expresses itself through physical movement and actions or speech. Speech is a form of action. So when we speak publicly, we act globally in a way, because potentially it can become accessible to everyone through the medium of the internet, but most of the time when we are in our private life, we act on a singular level. But the singular is contained within the universal. But actually what I've been doing, here it's really serious, and what I encourage people to do, is to universalize, to actualize on a singular level universal ideas, if they are good and when they are true, to act on a singular level, because that's what we can do, because we can only act on a singular level, but to act by trying to actualize, to make wirklich, universal ideas which are available on the internet, and predominantly in the United States, because this is the country of free speech, and where most of the most exciting, most interesting, best ideas are to be found in all fields: sociobiology, psychology, IQ, economics, politics, etc., etc., physics, the sciences. The most of the best ideas are to be some of the worst ideas as well, but most of the good ideas, because it's a country with free speech, highly competent, highly intelligent people, a culture of excellence, which has been decadent, but it's still present. The ideas, that's the global village, good ideas are universal, they are made available potentially to everyone. Of course, there's the barrier of culture and language and intelligence, because really these kind of books, not everyone can read this, because although it's very accessible, it's still nonetheless intellectually demanding. But actually, this shirt really expresses very simply the businessman who produced this shirt. It was produced in Honduras. He probably thought, yeah, we just want to make a profit, but actually that's the trick of reason, the cunning of reason. It expresses the truth about the ecological problem, but also the truth about ethics, precisely because this is Kantian ethics, the most abstract, most complex German metaphysical views about behavior, summarized very simply on a t-shirt. And that's what I've been practicing, and that's what I encourage people to practice, to act to actualize on a singular level universal ideas, if or when they are true, they are valid for all. Of course, it has to be adapted to the particularities of the particular and individual context. But if the principles which guide the way of behaving are true, they are universal, and the singular individual is an agent of the universal will. And what I intend to talk about is precisely the singularization, the actualization of ideas which are universally good. And what I propose, what I offer for free, is a full view of home economics to help every person, wherever he or she finds himself, whenever he or she watches this or implements some of the good advice or pieces of advice that I promote, to actualize on a singular level universal will, in a way. Ecological, libertarian, yeah. No, this is not over. Did I say every time I take off a layer of clothes, I get more interesting and better? the joke is not completely over, because if the pretty ladies that I envision, if they see this, they will say, "But he really gets better every time he takes off his clothes. Why do you stop here? You can take all of your clothes. We want to see more." Don't worry, ladies. Don't worry. That's a joke. That's really a joke. That's a joke. In order not to get bored too much, I have to laugh at my own jokes sometimes. Yeah. So, actually, this T-shirt is really not only is really funny. I mean, funny, no, but it's profound in a way, and it's kind of comical. But actually, it's very spiritual, because if I will talk about this more seriously, if every person on this planet bought local products, an enormous amount of problems. Local, when it comes to food, of course, not everything can be produced locally, but just in the realm of food, if every person bought, there's a book, The 100-Mile Diet, that I have ordered. I have not received the book yet, but if every person bought food produced locally, it would solve an enormous amount of problems in terms of health, pollution, the strengthening of the local economy. So it would have only positive aspects. And yeah, it is. I'm a libertarian and I'm in favor of free trade, but I'm an ecological libertarian. I don't want regulations for the sake of ecology, but I want regulations of behavior. That's my Hegelian unity of opposed determination. I'm not in favor of ecological regulations, but I'm in favor of ethical regulations for the purpose of ecology. Namely, the market ought to be free. People ought to have the liberty, the economic liberty and the political liberty to buy bananas or strawberries or pineapples coming from wherever. It should not be forbidden, but it should be morally discouraged by virtue signaling, and people ought to buy only local products, because it would solve a lot of problems ecologically, economically. Yeah. So, that's really the unity of German metaphysics and American pragmatism for the better. Yeah. So, let us begin. Yeah, I will just drink a glass of water, and yeah. That's the Greek goddess of the household. this has been 1 hour and 10 minutes, and now I will begin the commentary. I will put the structure in the section below, etc., etc. But now I will begin the systematic commentary of my contribution to home economics. Yeah. So, psychology. Yeah, I will try something to see if it works. Yeah, okay. So I will begin by giving pieces of advice. And yeah, I know it's boring, the formal aspect is boring because people they expect really a formally pleasing video, etc. But here I improvise the video. I do a little bit of virtue signaling. I make my videos, all of my recent videos, I've made them off the cuff. I do not edit. That's why the visual quality is kind of garbage, but I am spontaneous in the sense when I say stupid things. This is the stupid thing that I say. When I make mistakes, when I make controversial remarks without even being aware, that's my autistic self. Or when I say interesting things, I speak as I would speak if I spoke alone in front of the camera without knowing who will watch this when, what will they understand. But yeah, I've decided a new way of communicating. I have tried to write. I mean, there is an order, a pre-planned order to this video because this is precisely what I'm showing, what I'm talking about. But I speak spontaneously. That's yeah. So I will comment. Not very rigorously, but a new way of communicating in a way. So, it begins, the home economics and ethics actually begins with the individual soul. What is the soul? That's a long story. In my view, the soul inhabits the body. I wouldn't say that the soul is immaterial, but it is being materialized within the body, so the soul is in connection with the body. And here, the boring German metaphysician, he rightly remarks that for Leibniz and Descartes and Malebranche, these are 17th century philosophers, the unity of the body and the soul is God in a way. That's the unity of both in a way. So the soul experiences itself through the body, if I had to speak simply. So the soul and the body, they are kind of united, but they are differentiated nonetheless. But psychology, it happens partly, mostly in a way, in the brain, namely the emotions, the affects, the feelings, the representation that we experience, they are connected with neural, electrical connections within the brain. This is what modern neurobiology teaches. Someone like Damasio. I have the books just there, but here my room is a little bit... yeah, Antonio Damasio talks about this. The affects of the soul are partly also the affects of the body in a way. That's psychosomatic, as they call this. Psyche is the soul in Greek and soma is the body. So they are partly connected. But the soul, in my view, is independent of the body. This is my religious view. After death, one might say. But as long as we live, the soul inhabits the body. That's why taking care of one's body, not for the sake of appearances, but simply to have a healthy lifestyle, I've discovered this, enables to cure the soul, and reciprocally to have a healthier soul has a positive impact on the body, and I can testify because I have improved my health by maybe curing partly my soul. Yeah, so psychology. We live in an age where the entirety of world knowledge is made available in real time for anyone with an internet connection. I have tried to provide, in case it's not clear, the formal structure of the totality: nature, subjektiver Geist, objektiver Geist, absoluter Geist, the phenomenal appearance of mind, plus home economics. So I've shared all my formal documents in a way. And here I will give lots of pieces of advice, and the people who have taken the time to watch this, they will find maybe enlightenment, maybe help. I do this to help myself, but if I can help others, it will make me feel better. That's a psychic reward. When you know that you can bring good to others, you feel there are neurochemical releases within your brain, then you feel good because I'm such a good person, I can help others, etc. White people, they are very easily manipulated with this. I mean, all humans, but actually white people, it's more intense for white people. The need to do good to others, to feel good, yeah. It's not always a success, but white people, they try very hard. So, psychology. I have listed personal tips that I've been practicing. Everything that I list, or not everything, but the overwhelming majority of the things that I've listed, I've been practicing this for many months, sometimes many years. And I encourage people to do so as well. So here are some psychological pieces of advice that I can give in the age of the internet and the global village. I will just reduce slightly the... Yeah. Do we see? Okay. In the realm of psychology, I practice daily introspection. That's the Greek motto, know thyself, know yourself. I encourage people to practice introspection, namely to take time every day to think about themselves, about their experience of life, their experience of the world, their past, their development, their relationship to others, etc., etc. I watch the channel Psych2Go every day, almost every day. I've been doing this for many months. I watch at least 1 or 2 videos. Sometimes I take notes, and I can only encourage people to do so. It's really an excellent channel, and it has helped me a lot. And here, a brief comment. I have discovered through personal experience and introspection that I suffer from many problems. Asperger, so autism, partly schizophrenia, sometimes, partly narcissism, lack of confidence, arrogance as well sometimes. What else? A lot of problems. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. But autism is the most fundamental characteristic. So here, that the UPS again, every person is a singular individual with his or her own determinations which are unique to this person, but the particularities are contained within each singular. Namely, in the realm of psychology, that's the big 5, as they call this: conscientiousness, neuroticism, extroversion, etc., etc. Every singular individual has within himself or herself particular determination. Namely, every singular individual can be classified within a certain category, a certain cluster, a certain species, in logical species, not biological. And to know oneself, one can know oneself by studying the particular and the universal. So, in a way, every human has a soul, that would be the universal, but the universal does not exist as such. It particularizes itself. Introverts, extroverts, lonely, outgoing, shy, and bold or assertive, manipulative, honest, confident, arrogant, kind, indifferent, cold, sometimes. Yeah, there are many. Here, it's not. I'm not capable at this moment to make a rigorous definition of all the determination of psychology. But every singular person has particular characteristics, and in this sense, to study psychology and the particular types of psychological problems or psychological properties or characteristics enables one to understand oneself more. And the more one understands oneself, the less one is acted upon by unconscious tendencies. So to know oneself is a moment in a process of acquiring personal freedom, and not from liberation, first liberation from ignorance. And the more you become aware of the reason why you have been acting the way you have, or the reason why you act the way you do, it's not enough to reduce everything to a childhood trauma or to a mental health problem. It's not enough, but it can help a great deal. And yeah, that's Spinozian psychology. If you understand your determinism, namely the reason why you act the way you do, it will be liberating, because you will reduce the unconscious suffering that you cause upon yourself, or that you cause unto others, or that you allow others to cause upon you, because you will understand more. So it will no longer be alien. You will be able to master through a process of knowing. That's my Spinozian view. Yeah. Yeah. Then, so here I will not talk about my own personal psyche, but I have learned a tremendous amount of knowledge, and I have improved a lot, and I still do. Whenever I can, I watch one or two videos each day of Psych2Go, or I've watched videos about autistic people, which their testimony has helped me a lot because I can relate. I've understood a lot of my own problems in relation to others, my own flaws, my own past mistakes, problems that I still do suffer from, by making introspection every day, and I encourage people to do so. Make an IQ test. If you have the means, I encourage that you should make an IQ test, because it will, again, every singular individual belongs to a particular class, a cognitive class, below 85, 85 to 100, 100 to 115, 115 to 130, more than 130. It can be divided arbitrarily, but actually every person belongs to a certain class and shares all the characteristics, I mean not all, but share the fundamental characteristic of his or her own cognitive class. Namely, if you have an IQ below 85, there are certain things that you cannot do or cannot understand. If you have an IQ over 130, there are certain things that you can do more easily, but also there are problems that only very intelligent people suffer from, but you have more potentialities, etc. So if you are an IQ of around 100, there are certain things which are easy for you, but also some which are difficult. So people with a low intelligence have a lot of problems, but also they are not burdened by other psychological forms of suffering. And people with very high intelligence, a lot of things are very easy for them, but also very difficult for other aspects. So yeah, I encourage people who have the opportunity. I have done this in 2021. I have an IQ of 131 broadly, and it has helped me tremendously to gain confidence in myself and to understand the reason why I'm so disconnected. If we accept, if we leave aside the philosophical and religious perspective, just from a psychological standpoint, I'm disconnected from a vast majority of people because of my intelligence. Then there are other reasons. And this is, it also explains partly my political views. I'm intelligent enough to understand that my libertarian views, they cannot be completely universalized, because libertarianism actually is a political philosophy which appeals predominantly to very intelligent people, predominantly white people, not only, but predominantly intelligent white people with a strong sense of individualism, and it cannot, in a sense, it cannot be rigorously universalized, but yeah. Yeah, so it's very useful. I practice meditation. Sometimes when I'm really exhausted, I sit in a chair and I just think, or sometimes I walk and I sit outside just to let go a little bit. If you have a very intense mental activity, I recommend that you should do this. I have watched a lot of ASMR. You can do this as well. They're really good ASMR people. Maybe I will put the list of some of my favorites. And I recommend that you should try to cure your psychological, psychoanalytical, and psychiatric problems on an individual level. I try to cure my own. Slavoj! Well, we live in an age where the totality of our knowledge is made available. You can learn about psychology, psychoanalysis, psychiatry by just studying on your own. If you have the opportunity, the time, the leisure, the intelligence, the interest, I recommend that you should do so. It will save you a lot of money, a lot of trouble. No need for therapists. Yeah, and here I've listed some great psychologists. Mr. Peterson, Slavoj Zizek, of course, Nietzsche, and Eminem. And here a brief remark. I will not comment much, but Eminem is made in the image of God, like all humans, but more than the overwhelming majority of humans, because Eminem is 3 in 1. There is Eminem, the lyrical genius. There is Slim Shady, well, and there is Marshall Mathers. And for the people who are not aware, one way of understanding psychoanalysis, the ego, the superego, and the id would be Slim Shady, the superego would be Eminem, and the ego would be Marshall Mathers. And, that's why Marshall Mathers suffers a lot, but he's individually, because he's kind of divided, but he's 3 in 1, and he's a rap god, really, because he has such a profound psyche, and his life has been a constant struggle with that he expresses in his music with the various aspects, but that's why he's such a genius. Yeah, I mean there are other reasons, but this can explain. Psychoanalysis for dummies. Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, Eminem, and Marshall Mathers is just an ordinary person with an enormous amount of talent and a great personality who is kind of tormented or torn apart between the lyrical genius and the shady aspect, and he tries to find balance. And yeah. Maybe there are individual rappers who might be better on certain aspects in the specific field of hip-hop music, but Eminem is the best because he's the most complete, because he has all the aspects. Yeah. Okay, so we see. So that's what I've been practicing about psychology and what I encourage people to do. Now about sleep. We see. Yeah. Sleep, the proper measure. Do not sleep too much. Do not sleep too little. Personally, I need to sleep, I would say, at least 7 hours, sometimes 7 to 8 hours. Sometimes I sleep just 6 hours, but then or less, and then I'm exhausted. Sleeping when necessary is really good because it brings about better health, good mood, better mental stability, and I have suffered a lot psychologically over the past year, sometimes because I did not sleep enough, because I was fanatically focusing and working, and now I've decided many months ago that I would sleep when I'm really tired. I would go to sleep broadly towards 22 p.m. every night, and I will sleep full nights, and it has done me a whole lot of good. So sleeping the proper measure is really good. Here are pieces of advice which are common sense, but they can be applied to everyone. Sleep in a fresh room. Open your window before you go to sleep to bring in fresh air. Not if you live in a igloo, but if you live in a temperate climate, sleep in a fresh room. That's a piece of advice. Take a short nap when really you are exhausted during the day. That's the good aspect about being an entrepreneur instead of being a bureaucrat or a wage worker. If you are your own boss, you can sleep during the day if you're tired to increase your productivity. Go to bed early, that's a good piece of advice, and turn off the screens before going to bed. Do not watch screens, TV, the television, it has to go away anyway, but do not watch your computer or your smartphone at least 30 minutes before going to sleep. I've been consistently practicing this. Do not go to nightclubs or to partying because here I will be a little bit not moralistic, but it's okay for people to do whatever they want, but when people live in a socialized society, if people misbehave morally, the burden of the consequences of their behavior is put onto society. So the people who go to nightclubs to smoke, here it's not moralistic, it's actually economic, and that's a view of society as a totality. People who go to nightclubs and to go partying, if you get drunk and you abuse innocent women, if you cause a car accident because you lack sleep or because you are drunk, if you take substances, if you have sex with a consenting partner but unprotected because you are drunk or you are completely exhausted or you are completely fucked up because you have smoked whatever, you get pregnant or you get STD. So I speak here as a personal individual. I went to a nightclub once when I was, I think, 16 years old. I'm autistic. I don't like these kind of environments. Here, a little bit of communication through. Damn it. Yeah. So there are personal reasons why I don't like nightclubs, but on a social level, that's really a social problem. And for me, there are no legitimate reason not to rest and sleep at night, except work, or romantic passion. Yeah, but other than that, there are no reasons. So the nightclubs, they will go away. Partying, the same. And also, if you sleep the proper measure, if you have a healthy sleep schedule, you will not need sleeping pills. So the sleeping pill industry, it has to go away. It only exists because Western societies have become decadent and sick, literally. If people start to, and I will keep promoting these ideas because they are good, if people slept the proper measure, if they were healthier, the sleeping pill industry would vanish, the nightclub industry would vanish. Yeah. And if you apply this, you will be in a better mood. A bad mood is like bad breath. Don't share it with others. It's a very good formula that I've found. That's an American psychologist who says this. I try to apply this. Sleeping well contributes to a healthier lifestyle. If people are healthier, reduction of collectivized healthcare pension, and taxes, etc. So yeah, this is the piece of advice about sleep. Because that's the particularity of the modern West. Our civilization has become so decadent that even the basics are not respected by everyone any longer. And I don't blame people, because there were moments in my life where I did not sleep, not because I went to nightclub, but sometimes I watched videos, and that's really unhealthy. And if you receive public money in one way or another, either directly or indirectly, if you receive public money, you have a moral duty to be at the best of your capability and to behave decently. And here the problem is not religious, partly it is. The problem is economic and social. And in a libertarian society, people ought to have the freedom to go party at night if they want to, no problem, if it's their private property and if the consequences of their action are for them and them only. But if you get drunk or get exhausted, and if you harm others, sexual harassment, car accident, brawls, fights, violence, etc., or destruction of public property, etc., if it's financed by the taxpayer and if the negative consequences fall back onto society, you have to be held personally accountable. So one way of preventing social harm is to behave on an individual level. Yeah. About hygiene. I've been taking cold showers probably since the month of July or August 2022. During the winter, I've taken cold shower every day. Because it's cold, the shower, the length is significantly reduced. Usually I spend less than 1 minute under the shower. Sometimes less than 30 seconds, but I have the time to clean myself and to wash myself. So if people took cold shower, it vitalizes. There are videos which can be found on the internet, or probably books which have been written. Take cold showers, you will be in a better health. Except, of course, if it's really cold, if you are sick, etc. But for at least males, that's a good idea. Also, a piece of advice that I've noticed: women. Oui. Oui. Yeah. Women, they are sensuous creatures more than men, and because they are more dependent on the sensuous world, they are easily impressed when you can detach yourself from the sensuous aspect, because most women, actually all women, can't on a metaphysical level. So if you are a man, if you want to impress women, be as indifferent as possible to the sensuous world, and it will impress women. I've noticed this empirically, but actually it's metaphysical. One way of not necessarily seducing, but actually impressing women is to be indifferent to the physical sensuous aspect. If you are indifferent to the cold, to the weather, to the pain, it will impress women, because they are more sensuous, more living in the sensation. Men are more in the intellect, and if you are more indifferent, when it's cold outside or when it rains and you go out without much protection, women are impressed. When you tell them that you can endure the cold, secretly they say, "Oh, what a man." I know you do, dear women. So here it will increase your sex appeal towards women. It may not be enough, but that's a first step. That's quite a good idea. Brush your teeth after each meal, change your underwear each day, clean your ears and cut your nails, and here a little bit of ecological virtue signaling. Do we see? This is a renewable Q-tip, I think you call it, and here's another model. It's renewable. It replaces Q-tips. I've bought this. Several what do you call it, pieces. It's renewable. You can use it ad infinitum. If you buy this once, it costs less than $3. You will never need to buy Q-tips again. Less pollution, less plastic, less transportation, less waste. It's better for the planet. I've been distributing this several times. I encourage people to use this. The Q-tip industry, like the sleeping pill industry and the nightclub industry, it goes away eventually. That's a creative destruction. Yeah. Clean your penis after you have urinated. About female hygiene, I let women take care. Wash your hands frequently. That's important. This is just common sense, but actually there are a lot of people who don't do this. I've noticed this, so yeah. Let fresh air in your home. It's better to live in a fresh environment, to let fresh air as often as possible. It's healthier, basically. Clean your room. Here it means literally clean your room. Here I will do a little bit of virtue signaling again. I've bought this. These are recycled, reusable to clean the soil. I don't know how you call this. It's made locally with ecological products. It's ecological. I've bought this, and I've offered this as well. I encourage you to do the same. I want you to buy local if they produce ecological cleaning products. And I use this. It's ecological as well. It's made in France. It's ecological and local. Yeah. Toilets. Use dry toilets. Here, a little bit of German comedy. These are my dry German toilets that I've been promoting already. I've been using this for 4 months now. And it's ecological. I've already said this, but it strengthens the German economy. Economically, I'm on the side of the Germans. So it's ecological. I haven't flushed the toilets for the past 4 months, and as long as I use this, I won't have to. So it saves a lot of water. It's very efficient. So I encourage people to buy dry German toilets, built in Germany or not. But yeah, use recycled toilet paper. 100% recycled toilet paper. Yeah. Urinate in the shower. Again, it encourages you not to flush the toilet, so to economize water. Yeah, I haven't urinated in the toilet for many months, and I do this in the shower as often as possible, or in the, how do you call this, the water basin, I don't know how you call this. Yeah. So if you do this, you won't need to flush the toilet, and you will consume less water. So you can do ecological virtue signaling if you follow this. You don't have to follow literally everything, but that's ecological ethics. Yeah. Then, the bathroom. Sometimes I repeat myself, but yeah. I take cold showers only. I do not use hot water. Less energy consumption, less water consumption, because cold showers usually they last much less longer because it's not always pleasant, but actually it strengthens the will partly, and it's good for the planet. I use organic hygiene products, soap, organic shampoo. Actually, that's a soap that you can use for the hair as well. Organic toothpaste, bought locally and produced locally. That's ecological, 100% natural. Yeah. I use, of course, organic, or yeah. Here I made a good joke. Hopefully it works. In English, toilet paper. I wrote renewable, not reusable. Well, use reusable products, reusable toothbrush, reusable sponge, reusable ear cleaner. Yeah. That's the ear cleaner. You buy this once for $3. You will not need to ever buy Q-tips again. I've been using this. It's produced locally. It's ecological. It's reusable. I've been using this for many months. It still works. I encourage people to buy ecological products. Yeah. Well, reusable feminine hygiene products. I do not use this because, well, because I'm non-binary. No, because I am binary precisely, and I come from a time where there were still differences, physical, biological, between men and women, but a little bit of virtue signaling. I've bought this. Same, it's made locally. It's renewable. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I will make a joke. If you have a girlfriend or a wife, you can offer her a renewable feminine hygiene product, and you say to her, I want you to use this for the good of the planet, period. If she said, I disagree, you say, no, you will use this, period. That's a good joke. It works only in English. Well. So the consequences, I do not use hot water. I haven't taken a bath for 4 years. I do not intend to take bath or to use hot water for bathroom purposes. I have no hair dryer. I do not use Q-tips. I do not go to the hairdresser. I cut my hair myself. So less transportation, less pollution, less taxes for the government. I do it myself. I do not shave my beard. Obviously, I cut it with the scissors as well. So I do not use aftershave. I do not use shaving foam, and I use no razor. Which means I do not pollute, less plastic, less transportation, less pollution, and the aftershave industry, it will go away as well. Men, I will promote Greek philosophy lifestyle, or a Nordic Viking lifestyle, where men had beard for the sake of the planet. I mean, that's not the reason why the Greeks and the Vikings had beards, but now I will promote men to let their beard grow for the sake of avoiding pollution, waste, etc. Also, less makeup for housewives. If men become great again in the West, women will become great again, so therefore they will become housewives again, which means if a woman stays in the home, I thought about this, if a woman stays at home all day to prepare the house, clean the house for the husband, to teach the children, to take care of the household, instead of going practice a bullshit job. If a woman is not on the workplace with other males, but at home to take care of the household, she doesn't need to wear makeup as often as a woman who works with men in a company, or who goes to nightclub. So the women, they are very easily influenced by ecological moralization. One way of manipulating women for the good of the planet is you become influential, and then you say to women, do not use makeup, think about the planet, think about the climate change and those poor Indonesian children of the 25th century. If you do not reduce your consumption of makeup and lipstick, you will pollute, and think about the rising sea level and those poor children at the other end of the planet, etc. Women, they would believe any kind of nonsense if you present this as a moral argument, and if you're a respected figure, etc., etc. So, of course, the purpose is to make women great housewives again, those who are competent and those who have the willingness to serve their husband. And if it happens, they will need to wear less makeup, therefore less pollution, less superficial, etc., etc. Yeah, and of course, less plastic use. Yeah. Because women, of course, they do not care. Here, that's a little bit of a traditional view. Women do not care about being consistent. They just, most of them, they just adopt whatever ideology is trendy and popular. And I'm not accusing all women, but there are a lot of women who are ecologically minded just because it's the dominant ideology and they want to fit in the group. But if you say, for the sake of ecology, for the sake of saving the planet, etc., struggling against climate change, etc., you will have to use less makeup, you will stop going to party, going to nightclub, you will become a housewife again, you will use less clothes, etc. There are some women who will do this, but some others, they won't if the circumstances are changed, and if you practice and you promote an ecological ethics, and if there are people who do not follow this, although they proclaim to be ecologically minded, you can expose the hypocrisy and you gain the moral high ground. This is a leftist tactic of psychological, moral warfare against other white people for dominance and status, etc. I understand how this functions, so yeah. I will use the moral weapons at my disposal. Because everything that I preach, I practice. Almost everything, yeah. So, yeah. For the past, I would say more than 12 months, I have bought locally, because I have no car and I can only walk, and I am partly disabled, so I have a limited walking distance, so I buy everything, every food product that I buy almost is bought locally. I've bought almost for, I would say, more than 10 months, I would say, yeah, probably more than 10 months. Organic food, I only buy organic food, or overwhelmingly organic food. Fresh food, I no longer buy fruits coming from South America or Africa or Asia, etc. Sometimes I buy oranges coming from Spain or Italy, which is relatively close to Germany, but I no longer buy fruits when I can avoid, and when I move, I no longer buy fruits or vegetables coming from other parts of the world. I buy really fresh, local and organic, locally bought, locally grown, or both. I've changed, I have evolved. I consume organic dietary supplement for the sake of, here it's for vitality, in the case of a lack of protein, because I have a vegetarian diet, so in order to have a balanced physiology, I buy organic and I consume organic dietary supplements to remain healthy, because it enables me to be more productive. I produce fresh fruit juice. I do not buy packed juice. I produce my own fruit juice with organic, fresh, yeah, but not always local fruits. Chewing the food before swallowing, it simplifies the digestive process. It reduces the loss of energy, because if you chew the food, your stomach will use less energy to digest, so you will be less tired. It's important not to eat too fast, but to take the time to chew. Francis Bacon said about books, there are some books which are to be tasted, some swallowed, some chewed, and some digested. Yeah. I have adopted a German diet. Here it's quite recent. I've done this throughout my life at some point, but here I intend to keep doing this as long as I have to. A German diet means you eat a lot in the morning, you take a heavy breakfast, so that you will have energy for the entire day. You can eat potatoes, eggs, beans, stuff like that, and fruits as well. You eat a lot in the morning, so the energy will last for the entire day. At lunch, you eat a normal portion of food, and for supper, for dinner, you eat really light, because you will have to go to sleep if you go to sleep early, and therefore your stomach will use, and your body will use less energy to digest the food that you have eaten on the supper. That's how the Germans do it. The French, on the morning, they eat croissant and sugar. The Germans, like the English, they eat heavier on the morning, and I'm on the side of the Germans, most of the time. That's a good piece of advice. You eat a lot in the morning, slightly less for lunch, and really light for supper. It's better for the digestion, and you will have energy flowing through your body for the entire day. And at night, you will be able to rest more, because you will consume less energy to digest. Yeah. Yeah. Very intelligent, these Germans. where are my glasses? Yeah, I have not eaten junk food since the month of probably April 2022, so for almost a year I do not eat fast food. I've significantly and drastically reduced my consumption of fat, salt and sugar. I don't drink soft drinks except fruit juice, but no soda, Coca-Cola, etc. No soft drinks. I don't drink coffee, I don't drink tea. The problem with tea is not the fact of drinking tea like coffee as such. It's not a problem. I used to be not a coffee addict, but I used to drink a lot of coffee. I no longer drink coffee because it messes up with your nervous system, it gives a bad breath. Yeah, but also because of transportation for ecological purposes, because if you live in South America or Africa, if you drink coffee, or if you drink tea, if you live in Asia, that's okay, but if you import tea or coffee in the US or in Europe or in Asia, which comes from the other part of the world, there's the transportation, the pollution, etc. So that's the reason why I don't drink neither tea nor coffee, but a tea party. I don't drink tea, but it's okay to have a tea party. Yeah. I do not eat meat nor fish, but I recommend to significantly reduce the consumption if you are a Westerner, because it's excessive. I will talk about this later. I don't drink alcohol. I haven't drunk alcohol since the month of April, except one beer. I don't drink alcohol. I don't eat chocolate, nor sugar, nor candies. I significantly reduce the consumption of sweets, and I try to avoid processed food. I will show the books later. I try to avoid processed food as much as possible, because usually it's not good quality, it's not good for the health, there's a lot of plastic, it's not healthy, it's not ecological. So I transform my food myself. I have bought cans, and I still buy cans to make supplies of organic products, but other than that I do not buy processed food. Yeah, I try to buy fresh food as much as possible. If you apply these kind of pieces of advice, or you can complement with your own experience, but you will not need to go to the gym. It will significantly reduce the level of obesity. You will not need diet pills. Here, strictly speaking, it's not a diet pill to lose weight, it's simply to give complements in terms of proteins, but you will not need diet pill. You will almost not need to go to the dentist or the physicians if you have a healthy lifestyle. If you do not eat sugar, candies, sweets, alcohol, soft drinks, etc., it will be much better for your teeth. And I will repeat what I said earlier. In a socialized economy, if people, in the case of personal health, if they have problems with their diet because they eat junk food, if it's a socialized economic system, the consequences are put onto the whole of society, and then the politicians, they can say we need healthcare, etc. So we steal money from the productive members to redistribute to the bureaucrats and the politicians, and slightly to those who suffer from various problems. But then there are regulations which are implemented, and for inherent structural reasons, it brings about corruption, economic destructionism, and dependence and helplessness. Yeah, so I see the economic and ecological aspect, because that's partly my autistic self. Yeah, and I wrote, you can also become a vegetarian. I will comment about this joke later when I show a book. Yeah. And here about health. I'm not a doctor, but my view of health, it's actually a full view. In order to be healthy physiologically, all the aspects of life have to be brought into congruence. And the problem with Western medicine, of course, it brings a tremendous amount of increase in life expectancy, but the problem is not medical, the problem is logical in a way, because the Western doctors, not of the West, but the modern doctors, here that's the criticism of ecologists, but I understand, when a patient has a symptom, a problem, they cure the symptom, but they do not seek the cause because they do not have the time, or because the medical drugs are specifically designed to solve a specific problem, but actually health is holistic. In order to be healthy physiologically as well as psychologically, an individual has to have all the aspects of his life in congruence, and there are many doctors who can really cure with modern medicine. Of course, they can cure a lot of symptoms, a lot of problems, but the problems keep reappearing because only the symptoms are cured and not the causes. And in order to be healthy, that's what Hippocrates, the Greek doctor, the Greek physician of antiquity used to say, that the purpose of a doctor or a physician is not to cure his patient, but to preserve their health, to prevent them from getting sick. Health is not about curing people who are sick, it's about preventing people from getting sick in the first place. And in order to be healthy, all the aspects have to be put into congruence. I have never studied medicine, but it's simply logic, and if people, just all the pieces of advice that I've listed, if people applied, I'm not saying rigorously this, but if they led a holistically healthy lifestyle, psychologically, physiologically, ecologically, mentally, intellectually, a lot of problems like obesity, depression, anxiety, all sorts of psychological problems, health problems of all sorts, diabetes, etc., would disappear. Of course, not in the blink of an eye, but there are a lot of civilizational diseases, which are caused by an unhealthy lifestyle. So my view of health, I do not give any medical piece of advice here, but simply, first take care of your hygiene, have a healthy diet, a healthy lifestyle, visit the doctor or the dentist, learn rescue skills, and if you avoid just all of this, it will solve a lot of problems. And here it's self-evident that you will be able to live longer, less need for socialized healthcare, and able to save money, and practice exercise, walk as often as possible, use a bike as often as possible, walk the staircase instead of taking the elevator. The consequences will be loss of weight, gain of agility, and better health overall. There are a lot of people who are sick because of structural inherent reasons. So it's not an individual fault of their own, it's simply because they live in a sick society. Yeah. Okay. I will take a short break. I will promote books. That's the purpose of the video. Thank God for Jordan Peterson. His piece of advice about cleaning your room is really excellent. It's a little bit boring, but I have some good jokes to tell. Just a little while. Here, I will give an anecdote. Human beings usually they enjoy anecdotes because they can relate. I was overweight up until a few months ago, and I started to practice my ethical lifestyle first unconsciously, buy local, eat healthier, buy ecological products, organic food, etc., etc., and without even consciously attempting to improve my health, simply because I wanted to buy locally, first for practical reason to become more independent, then to strengthen the local economy, to become more self-reliant, etc., etc. The consequences have been a loss of weight and a tremendous gain in agility, and I can testify, usually humans, they appreciate when people can give their personal story to give examples. My walking distance, because I'm partly disabled physically, up until many months ago, last year, my limit was broadly 800 meters, half a mile, 800 meters. That's really short because I'm physically limited in my walking abilities. But I have changed my lifestyle and I have increased my walking distance by a factor of broadly 10. Now I can walk 8 kilometers, which is broadly 5 miles. So I've increased tenfold my ability to walk because I've just changed my lifestyle. I do not eat junk food any longer. I eat organic food. I buy locally. I walk more, etc. So it has had a tremendous impact upon my health, and I'm much healthier. I've gained agility, flexibility. It has done me a whole lot of good psychologically. I've lost a lot of weight. I'm in a much better health, and I can only testify and encourage others to do so. Yeah. So now I will promote books. That's part of my new ethics. These are just singular books that I haven't even read, but it's simply for the people who will take the time to watch this to understand the new rise of global consciousness enabled by the internet. Here I will promote books about diet. I haven't read this book, but it's simply to explain that we live in a society, in a civilization, in a moment in history when people can access the totality of our knowledge, namely all the problems, as long as the world exists, all the problems that humans suffer from, or at least most of them, they can be cured by first thinking correctly. That's what I've been promoting with my total view, and then by acting. Very simple acts can change a lot. A hero can be anyone, even someone doing something as simple as putting a coat on a young boy's shoulder to let him know the world hadn't ended. I know my classics. Yeah, a hero can be anyone. You can improve yourself individually, whatever your level of intelligence, whatever your personal situation. If you find yourself in a situation where you can improve yourself by simple actions, I will promote books, not because of the content of the book, because to show the structure of what the internet enables. So here are books about diet. That's an example. We live in an age where people who want to improve their diet, they can find for a few dollars, a few euros, or a few whatever currency, and they can order books which, if you take the time to read a good book about diet, if you implement the teachings, it will serve you for the rest of your life. Better health, it's better ecological, it's better for the economy. Here I do a little bit of virtue signaling. This book, I've been distributing this book with food stamps to encourage people to read and to buy local organic food. This is a good piece of advice that I will give again later. Whoever you are, if you have the financial means, if you find yourself in a situation where you can order books, buy intelligent, ecological, dietary books and offer them to the people in need, to encourage them to read, to encourage them to change their diet. That's my ecological revolution. The best way to eat. So the title was about vegetarian food. Here it's to eat organic without spending more. The best way of eating. My libertarian view, which is complemented by my ecological view. They reciprocally complement one another. There are a tremendous amount of social problems which are caused by individual deficiencies, not by a lack of intelligence, sometimes by a lack of will or lack of information. If people spread the message of just trying to eat better food, it would solve an enormous amount of problems in terms of ecology, pollution, economy, psychology, etc., etc., public health, etc. Become locavore means eat local food, eat well, eat good, eat local. These books, they happen to be written in French because it's kind of technical, dietary, etc. But the same kind of books exist in English, in German, in Dutch, in most, if not all, European languages, probably in most Asian languages. These are not the singular books which are important, but books about how to eat better. They are written or translated in most languages of developed countries, and yeah, I try to share knowledge. What do we eat? So all these books about seeds to grow in your household. Yeah. So these are books about that. This is just an illustration of what is made possible with the internet. Here are my books about health. First Rescue. I have bought and distributed this book to encourage people to be more responsible. Relearn how to sleep. People who do not like reading books or who complain about lack of money or whatever, you invest 20 euros or $20 or whatever in a book about sleep. You read the book well, you apply the teachings, you will sleep well for the rest of whatever time you live on this earth. It will give you a better mood, better functional activity, better health, etc., etc. A book about First Rescue, where there is no dentist, where there is no doctor. I encourage people to buy these kind of books, so to have manuals at their disposal. remedy or remedy how to do everything yourself, and herbal antibiotics, what big pharma doesn't want you to know. I do not advocate completely herbal medicine, but it can help. There are a lot of diseases or problems which can be solved by simple products. This is the tradition that all traditional peoples had kept before the advent of Western civilization, one might say. It has brought a whole lot of good in terms of increase of life expectancy, hygiene, healthcare, etc. But also a lot of knowledge has been lost and can be recovered. Yeah. So this is about health and diet, and here about the healthcare system. So Ivan Illich, a Jewish ecological thinker, about the problems of the medical system. A French author about the problems of socialized pension retirement. What the French, I mean, maybe there are French people watching this, what the French do not understand is that the reason why the pension system is a failure, it's not because the wrong people are in charge or because there is corruption. Of course there is. It's simply for inherent structural reasons. It's because a socialized healthcare system cannot work because of the inherent nature of socialism. And even in a country like Cuba, whose medical system was praised by someone like Michael Moore in his documentary, the social system, the healthcare system worked in Cuba, more or less, but nothing else worked. They succeeded, maybe, I'm not an expert, but they succeeded in producing high quality medicine, but the entirety of the rest of the economy was a complete failure. That's the view of the totality in a way. If you just look at one aspect and you don't see the full picture, of course, if a socialist economy focuses on producing one product or service, maybe it might partly succeed, but the entirety of society and the economy will decline or fall apart for inherent reasons. So, yeah. Here it's about the problem of socialized retirement, socialized pension for the old people. Mistreatment, again, it doesn't work because healthcare should not be socialized. That's a civilizational mistake. From pathology to politics, public health in America, juice or junk, some fruit drinks are bad for your health, examination of the public health bureaucracy, etc., etc. Antidepressed, a breakthrough examination of epidemic antidepressant harm and dependence. That's, again, UPS. It applies to most modern westernized countries. There are a tremendous amount of money which is made by big pharma because it preys upon the psychological misery of the people, which is caused by an enormous amount of factors which can be cured by the solution. I mean, not completely maybe, but I try to show some solutions. How big pharma broke American healthcare and how we can repair it. My view, my libertarian view, is that it begins by individual fixing. If people eat junk food, if they do not exercise, if they are in psychological misery because men and women relationship have been broken, if they are irresponsible, if they are immature, if they are dumbed down by the media, the school system, etc., they cannot behave responsibly on an individual level, and it produces mass scale health problems. And then the bureaucracy, the socialists, the demagogues, they say the people, they are bad health production, bad health condition because of capitalism, because capitalism creates inequalities, etc. And then they implement more regulations, more bureaucrats, which means more corruption, more inefficiencies, more dependencies, etc., etc. Yeah. And now a little bit of German comedy. Pure, white, deadly. We're talking about the Germans, right? No, you idiot! I'm talking about sugar! How sugar is killing us and what we can do to stop it. Sugar is sweet! The Germans, they are sweet as well! Okay, it sounded better in my head, but I had planned this joke. When I saw the title of this book, I couldn't help but think about the excesses of German politics. But seriously, sugar is causing a lot of harm. And I can anticipate here more seriously, metaphysically, that at some moment, that's what I think, people will say, but maybe Germany is like sugar, it is sweet, almost everyone loves the Germans, but sometimes they are a little bit excessive, and sometimes too much Germany can cause harm in spite of the sweetness. Well, another book about the science behind the corporate takeover of our bodies and brains. Yeah. Our seemingly innocent addictions, from fast food to social media to shopping therapy to FOMO, are far from it. They are biochemical and they are damaging our bodies and brains. That's the unity of the mind and the body, in a way. By modern neurological science, salt, sugar and fat, how the food giants hooked us. Another book about Germany. No, actually another book about sugar. Sweet poison. Why sugar makes us fat. The Germans, they are like sugar. I will not say more. Junk food strikes back. How the big companies of the junk food industry make you swallow poison in a way. Obesity. Health and economic consequences of an impending global challenge. Metabolical. The truth about processed food and how it poisons people and the planet. So, the connection between individual psychology, politics, socialized healthcare system, the welfare state, etc. Ecology, everything is interconnected, and simply to reduce on an individual level the consumption of poison and to follow some of the pieces of advice that I've given and I will keep giving, it enables to solve individual problems, problems of pollution, problems of healthcare, problems of psychology, problems of self-esteem, problems of dependence, economic dependence, problems of addiction, problems of legislation, problems of bureaucracy, etc., etc. That's what I've understood over the past few months, is that in order to solve social collective problems, it begins, that's an methodological individualism, that's the libertarian view, it begins by practicing a more virtuous behavior on a singular level. And yeah. My view, that's here, it's an opinion, but it can be supported by empirical data. The problems of obesity, they are blamed on capitalism, because capitalism enables the production of an enormous amount of commodities, goods and services, wealth, etc. But actually, no, when you think more profoundly, of course, it's a byproduct of an industrial, well-developed and wealthy society, but obesity is mostly made possible, not only, but it is strengthened in a way by a socialized healthcare system and a socialized economy, because if you are, I don't blame people on a singular level for being overweight. I was partly overweight, but it's not their individual fault because they are determinism. But when people have, they are encouraged unconsciously to not to take care of themselves on an individual level, because the message unconsciously or consciously is the state takes care of everything: healthcare, pension, education, culture, infrastructures, retirement, training program, etc. When the state takes care of everything, people do not grow up because they do not become responsible for themselves, and they unconsciously they expect the bureaucracy, the state, to take care of their every need, and therefore they are encouraged, directly or indirectly, to be irresponsible, because society is here to, that's what he said, to take care of their problems. But it is financed by debt, it is enacted by regulation and legislation, which destroys the economy and the liberties, the political liberties, the intellectual liberties as well. And my view is, libertarian again, is to try to behave as ethically as possible on a singular level, and to influence others not through political coercion but through moral virtue signaling, and to encourage people to work on themselves and to remove more or less smoothly the safety net, to force people to become more responsible. Because the problem of the problem of the retirement system, the problem of obesity, everything is connected. It is made possible. It has been made possible in a civilization which has crossed the measure in terms of socialization. There is too much bureaucracy, too much collectivization of life, and it takes away individual responsibility. People become sick, either psychologically, physically, morally, physiologically, because there's an excess of socialization. That's my view. And yeah. And here I will promote another book. The Consuming Instinct: What Juicy Burgers, Ferraris, Pornography and Gift-Giving Reveal About Human Nature, by Gad Saad, forward by David Booth. The development of knowledge, predominantly in the US, for the reason that I've mentioned earlier, the development of modern evolutionary psychology, it completely changes the perspective. Right now it takes time because it's predominantly in the US and it's not widespread yet, but we are living in an age of revolutions at all levels, and in the realm of epistemology, the return of what used to be called sociobiology, which is actually to explain human behavior by biological determinism, not completely but partly. It is returning simply because it's kind of true, and it has been shut down and left aside and ignored for decades in the chronological perspective in the Western world for moral reasons, because the Germans of the past century, they made excessive abuses of some scientific views about biology. They politicized biology in an excessive way. As a German aspect, sometimes a little bit excessive. And it has been shunned morally in the Western world, which has brought about an intellectual decline an intellectual degeneration and degeneracy of the Western world. But the US, because they have free speech and they have a culture of excellence, and the Anglo-Saxons at large, they have kept science alive in a way. And now science is coming back to explain a lot of ordinary behavior, which are manifestations of deeply rooted human instincts, but which have global, widespread, disastrous consequences for individual humans, because lack of self-esteem, lack of a sense of self-worth. When people, they have health problems due to bad living habit, they do not feel good about themselves because they are judged by others, etc., etc. And it brings about social and economic problems on a global scale. Here, global means in the whole world, but actually for the whole of society, whatever singular society. But here, just to explain what happens is that for the past 50 or 70 years, in the scholarly world, most explanations are attributed to a Marxist view, which means class analysis, but there is a return of biology, and this view, which simply explains a lot, here in the case of salt, sugar and fat, and sugar, etc., the sociobiological reason explains very simply that in a historical perspective, for the human ancestors of modern humans, or for a very long period of time, for humans, eating very edible food with a lot of sugar, a lot of fat, in the savanna or the hunter-gatherer landscapes of pre-agriculture human surroundings, finding fruits or honey or products which were very intense in terms of fat or sugar, etc., it gave a competitive advantage because it gave a lot of energy to those who consumed these kind of products. So it gave them a competitive edge for the search for resources, hunting, gathering, etc., etc., or simply living longer or in better health in very difficult conditions. So it gave them a cutting edge, a competitive advantage. But it was very rare, very scarce in a pre-agricultural context, and even more so in a pre-industrial context. But with the development of first agriculture, but then eventually industrial societies, the ability to produce wealth, where is per Bylund, has been tremendously increased, but the deeply rooted biological instincts, which in the chronological perspective were adapted for survival in a scarcely resource-populated savanna or a harsh climate of northern Eurasia, etc., the wiring of the brain to respond to external stimuli in terms of food and other consuming instincts, it enabled and strengthened and enhanced the ability to survive and to reproduce in a given environment. But if the brain hasn't changed much in this perspective, but the environment has changed completely because of the tremendous progress enabled by industrialization, capitalism, etc., etc., humans are not adapted to the modern environment, and that's why what was good in the past, the taste for sugar or for fat food, has become harmful and very negative for individuals and for societies at large, because the brain hasn't had the time to adapt to a completely new environment where resources are plentiful, supermarkets are filled with a lot of sugar and heavily food containing a lot of calories, etc., etc. Yeah, and this is simply, I just explain that the modern epidemic of obesity and diabetes and heart problems or lung problems caused by smoking, etc., they can be explained very well by the most up-to-date sociobiological science, evolutionary psychological science, and yeah, here I talk about it just to explain that in order to make the world intelligible, controversial science, here it's not really controversial, but it is in the context of the modern Western world, which has given up on science and biological explanation for the behavior of humans. It can shed a lot of light and explain a lot. And this brings about, because it's a process, it brings about a massive shift in consciousness, because if people, it's not if, but when people start understanding and analyzing and interpreting the world through the categories of sociobiology, a lot of events will make sense. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, it's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'm a little bit exhausted. Maybe I will not make. Maybe I will make 2 videos. Here that will just be part 1. 3 hours of ethics. That's enough. The Germans, they are good, but when they are excessive, no. The proper measure. So maybe I will start because here I will just make a summary. I made my jokes about the Germans for the people who have. I have another joke about the Germans. I do not write my. I'm not a comedian. Marshall, you're so funny, man. You should be a comedian. Goddamn. Unfortunately, I am. I just hide behind the tears of a clown. So why don't you all sit down, listen to the tale I'm about to tell, in my shoes, just to see what it's like to be me. I'll be you. Let's trade shoes, etc., etc. Yeah, I still have a few jokes for the people who have succeeded in remaining almost 3 hours. Yeah. But I have understood that when it's really too long, it becomes counterproductive. So I will stop here, but I still have. So what I've been talking about is psychology, hygiene, bathroom and toilet, sleep, food and diet, health, exercise, and it's not structured randomly. it's from the most fundamental needs. The pyramid of Maslow, the psychologist who made a pyramid of ordering and hierarchy of human needs, with most basic needs like food, the physiological need at the bottom, then shelter and protection, then belonging, self-esteem, and eventually self-realization. And it's not consciously how I structured this, but actually this is kind of how it is structured. Here I've talked really about the basic, the physiological needs of humans, the psychophysiological, and then clean your room. I will not talk about this in this video. Maybe I will do this tomorrow or in the coming days, and I will post separate videos. But actually, the process of growth and personal development consists in ordering all levels, and to clean your room. What Mr. Peterson probably says, I haven't watched a lot of videos about clean your room, but I get the idea, consists in exteriorizing in the immediate environment where one lives and settles in a way, to exteriorize order, to act, to structure, order, organize the immediate environment, and it is simply through an act of the will. It doesn't take a lot of will, or actually it does, because sometimes it takes a lot of intelligence, but simply to order, to exteriorize the inner determination of the soul, and that's the beginning of the process of ordering, simply when the psyche and the mind are more or less ordered. And it's very difficult because psychological, psychiatric, psychoanalytical problems, or immaturity, etc. But to really clean your room, it sounds like a dumb slogan, but actually no, because if it is rigorously done in a German way, one might say, it's simply the reflection, the exteriorization, the manifestation of an inner growth. That's how I interpret this. And everything, of course, is kind of connected. And one has to work at all levels to improve. And yeah, I've spent... I will keep talking about the other determination, but read this document. This is really my idea. I've never heard about this anywhere else. Of course, I've drawn inspiration from a lot of people, indirectly or directly, consciously or unconsciously. But yeah, to put your household in order consists in ordering as much as possible all the aspects. And an ordered soul, an ordered life, an ordered mind, an ordered household enables a functioning society. Yeah, but now a little bit of a joke about the German. An infinite source of inspiration for sometimes dubious jokes. First, I will denounce a little bit of ecological virtue signaling. The shocking story of greed, neglect, and inhumane treatment inside the US meat industry, slaughterhouse. So if you become a vegetarian, you will not participate in the mistreatment, the neglect, the pollution, the transportation, the obesity, etc. I don't say that everyone has to become a vegetarian, but drastically reducing your consumption of meat. If you are a Westerner, it's really a good thing for ethical, ecological, economic, medical reasons. I promote books that I have. Most of the books that I've promoted, I haven't read them because I don't have the time to read all books, but I try to be fair. I know that I kind of disagree with these kind of views, but I promote nonetheless because it's part of the intellectual diversity. I'm not against animal liberation, but simply there are some concerns which are more important, but it's important as well. But I promote books that I do not necessarily agree with, but it can help expand one's own horizon. And here I bought a book by Mrs. Savitri Devi. In English, that's The Impeachment of Man. where she denounces the customs of our modern society to produce and consume, the anthropocentric, where she also defends the environment and has a compassionate treatment, proponent of compassion and empathy towards animal. So he's kind of a radical left-wing, radical views. They would probably disagree on most aspects of their political views, but they can agree on their defense of well-being of animals, or at least against the mistreatment of animals. And here's my joke. Here's my joke. I already made a joke, actually I just commented the joke. A Hindu, let's imagine a Hindu immigrant in England. I think a lot of Hindu, they are vegetarian, not all of them, but a lot of them. It's part of their religious view. The Hindu of India, historically, they are vaguely descendants of the Aryan conquerors. At least some of them, they have a genetic imprint still in them. In some upper classes of the modern Indian society, there are still people who have European features, with a darker skin, but European features, because genetically they have a significant proportion of European blood, which comes historically from what was used to be called the Aryans, namely the Indo-European people who settled on the Indian subcontinent and gave the Sanskrit language, etc., and some religious views. So here's the joke. Hindu immigrant in modern Britain, let's imagine that he talks to Savitri Devi, and he says, I'm a vegetarian. Savitri Devi, she just said, me too! A vegetarian, with the Y instead of the I. It's kind of comical a little bit for people with a historical religious political culture. It can be funny. Yeah. And the good jokes about the Germans, I still have a good joke. I try to make intelligent jokes. In the waste department, which I do not intend to talk thoroughly in this video, but here's a bokashi. What is a bokashi? That's a recycling bin where organic vegetal waste are put to be turned into fertilizer. So I put the apples, how do you call this? The skin of apples, vegetables, the parts which are not really edible, etc. And it is left within. You put some. I will go pick up the book. It's a Japanese invention from the 1980s. It's kind of famous among ecological circles. It's for people living in cities or in apartments to be able to recycle, to encourage them to recycle. That's part of my ecological lifestyle. I will not pretend that I've been fully dedicated, because I have to work on a lot of things, but it's part of the process. Yeah. How to recycle, how to reduce the trash. Here's the book, Bokashi. So it enables to create, if it functions, organic fertilizer without getting rid of the waste, or to turn the organic waste produced by vegetables, fruits, sometimes mostly vegetable and fruit, to turn them into fertilizers. Waste, uncovering the global food scandal. That's also my libertarian view. Of course, there are people who can legitimately complain about their economic conditions and poverties, mostly in the Western world. They can legitimately complain, but first, a lot of poverty is created not by capitalism but by socialism. And second, there are a lot of people who complain about the difficult economic conditions, but very simple things, like there's an enormous amount of food which is being wasted. People waste an enormous amount of food, so they waste their money. First, they waste their health by buying junk food, and the junk food that they buy, they throw it away, mostly for lack of intelligent use. The book How to Stop Food Waste, I might say, Zero Waste. I have distributed these kind of books with food stamps sometimes to encourage people to be more careful and to change their lifestyle. That's part of my ethics. Yeah. But yeah, so I wanted to conclude with a joke. So here we have the Japanese bokashi, and here we have the dry German toilets. That's the unity. That's the joke. It's not really. It's kind of funny for intelligent people. There's the unity of Germany and Japan. Two weapons, secret weapons to I wouldn't say to take over the world, but these are weapons that I intend to use to promote my ideas for the greater good of Germany. Japanese weapons of recycling, and here's the German counterpart. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I will not go into more. Yeah. But yeah, I will stop the video here. Really, this document, my jokes can be sometimes dubious or silly or stupid, but when I work kind of seriously, here, this document really is. For me, it has been very useful. I did not consciously plan the document. It's simply, I have tried to live a better life, a life more organized, more ethical, which means a libertarian and ecological life. And I have tried to put this into illustration. And as long as I talk publicly, I will promote this document. It can be improved greatly, but really for me it has been a great help, and there can be no restoration of order, there can be no liberty and justice and order without a personal transformation, a personal revolution. And it has to be, here that's the zeitgeist, it has to be libertarian, because I will struggle and fight for this, but it has to be ecological as well. And here I will conclude by a kind of serious philosophy, but actually it's kind of serious philosophy, but libertarianism as such, I'm intelligent enough to know that it cannot work, because even though it's morally good and true, it cannot appeal to everyone. I mean, technically it can. The fundamental principles are really good morally. They are universal, so they are good. The non-aggression principle, cooperation through reciprocal self-interested exchange, the division of labor, respect for private property, the non-initiation of force, etc., etc., personal responsibility, etc. It's good. It's really Christian ethics, but we live in an age where, because of the social inequalities and the ecological problems, etc., it cannot be, it's not enough. It's necessary to promote libertarianism, and I will, but ecology has to be to be promoted as well, but not because I see the deception, not in a bureaucratic, socialist, interventionist, central planned way, because the people who, a lot of politics who talk about ecology, they don't care about the planet or the climate or whatever. They care about power and how to gain power and to raise taxes and to implement more regulation. So I am opposed to ecology as a political tool, but of course behaving ecologically, it doesn't mean to take into account here the bokashi. Really, it's not excessive, but it's just kind of insignificant. I'm not saying that it's insignificant, but it's not by just buying a bokashi can that the world will be saved. Like the dry German toilets, it's not enough. That's a good start, but yeah, I'm lucid. That's why I've told joke. But actually, to act, as long as people act, to try to act ethically, namely to fix oneself on a singular level, to grow, to mature, to develop, to become more responsible, more independent, more mature, but also to think of the consequences on a global scale, and to not only in the present, but really for behavior to be ethical, it can be universalized. It has to be universalized in space, but also in time. And here I kind of agree with a lot of what usually leftists say, but ecology is not supposed to be politicized, and if it is, it's because it's wrong, it's wrongly used. But ecology is really a global concern, but it starts on a singular level. And my view that I've tried to unite opposed determination. That's very Hegelian, really in an intelligent way. Libertarianism cannot succeed alone. Ecology cannot succeed politically because for the inherent failures of socialism and the people who really don't really care about the planet, and I don't blame them, but they care about increasing their power and their faculty to increase taxes, and ecology is just a tool. So ecology on its own, it's not sufficient. Libertarianism, neither. The two have to be kind of reconciled. That's why I will promote both in an intelligent way. And yeah. And here I conclude with a personal remark. Acting ethically, my intention in my radical change of behavior over the past many months was not consciously neither ecological nor nor in terms of physiology, but it has helped me a lot. I have improved a lot, and I can only testify and I can only encourage others to draw inspiration from the books, some of the books that I've promoted. If this document can help you, and I will conclude also by saying, I have enough historical culture. I am ignorant on many things, but I have enough historical culture to know that in troubled times and when people demand a political change, which is the case in most Western countries, replacing agents of the state by other agents, it can seem, of course it's necessary in a way, but replacing agents of the state is necessary, but replacing by other agents and thinking that they will be morally better, etc., it can slightly help, but actually the problems are structural, they are inherent, and there can be no restoration of order without a radical shift on the singular behavior of most people. And here I probably disagree with, I've partly browsed through the book, I disagree with a lot of what she says, because I will not talk about the history of the West, but I know what kind of book this is. I probably disagree, I know that I disagree with a lot, but I also agree with some views, and how should I explain this? conservatism, I'm not sure that I'm a conservative, but intelligent conservatism has to be ecological. An intelligent libertarianism has to be conservative. An ecology, there can be really intelligent remarks made from leftist people, but ecology is not supposed to be on the left nor on the right. It's supposed to be a concern for everyone, and I will not pretend that I deeply care about the planet, because from a philosophical perspective, nature is, from an idealist perspective, is the exteriorization of the mind, and what is important is the manifestation of spirit through humans in ethics, law, religion, art, philosophy, and nature is just a means for the expression of spirit. That's my philosophical view, and that's why liberty is so important, but how should I explain this? The question is not what kind of planet will our children inherit. The question is, what kind of children will our planet inherit? That's just a way of talking, but actually the purpose is not to save the planet. The purpose is to save humans from themselves, and the healthy individuals living in healthy societies would not allow all the flaws and the problems and the excesses that I have promoted or listed through the promotion of books. It would not be possible. My view, here I will conclude, my view is libertarian, not for the good of everyone, maybe it is, but for my own interest. I want, it's not that I want, I try and I want to pursue the cause of liberty. But man cannot be free if man is at war with nature. But it's not capitalism which is at war with nature. Capitalism is just an expression of human will to power, as bureaucratic socialism is as well. The one is creative in terms of wealth, goods and services, progress, innovation, and it can be destructive ecologically, but bureaucratic socialism, first, it also produces a lot of pollution, etc., but it produces also a degradation of man, which is as problematic, if not more, than the degradation of nature. But yeah, I try to bring a balance, and what I want to say is that there can be no liberty on an individual or collective level without self-discipline, self-restraint, and in the modern West, it consists in reducing voluntarily. Minimalism, I could talk about this, and I will talk about this, minimalism, etc. I do not believe in political ecology. I believe that healthy individuals, mentally and psychologically healthy individuals, would spontaneously reject all the vices, addictions, excesses, diseases that I have listed, and if they do so, the economy will regulate itself, not through bureaucratic legislation, but simply because well-regulated, ethical, moral agents, moral people, they would not fall prey to all the excesses and other excesses. Yeah. So, as of now, this is what I'm trying to do, and I will continue to follow my ethical views in the realm of home economics. Yeah. I will end the video on a little bit of virtue signaling. I should have started with this, but my washing machine that's my washing machine, really. And here it's not a joke. I will not talk much, but sometimes less is more, or more is less. Less technology is more independence in the case of washing machines, and spending more time on basic household tasks. I have no dishwasher, no washing machine, no microwave, no oven, no vacuum cleaner, etc., etc. Willingly reducing technology when it can be easily replaced. I'm not technophobic as such. The internet is a wonderful tool for spreading knowledge, obviously. But yeah, I've chosen, not because I'm virtuous, but because I try to be dedicated to willingly lower down my standards of living and spending, being more minimalism and renouncing comfort. Sometimes it's an economic necessity, but sometimes it's a moral choice. And I will promote minimalism and libertarian ecology as long as I can, as long as I have to. Yeah. I intend, I don't know, maybe tomorrow or in the coming days to continue the video. Maybe it will be 3 videos, I don't know, but I will keep promoting this document, either publicly on the internet, or I have printed the document and I intend to distribute this eventually maybe in a simply, here that's the simplified view, but with pieces of advice, simply to encourage people to change their behavior, not in an authoritarian way, but in a virtuous way, because there can be no liberty without order, and there can be no order without self-discipline. And yeah, I will keep working on myself and testify and encourage others to draw inspiration or not, but and I'll conclude with Ron Paul. And now I will take my light supper, and I will go to sleep in my freshly in my fresh room. Tomorrow towards 5 or 6 a.m. I will take my cold shower, etc., etc. And I work for free. Really, I work for free. And I work for freedom. Yeah. It sounds good. I can make great slogans. I will conclude with a joke. I could say to someone, excuse me, but I'm really a good person, you know, I work for free. And the person said, ah, you are such a good person. And then I would say, I'm even better than you think, because I do not just work for free, I work for freedom, for my own freedom. Because I'm a Hegelian, I understand that I cannot be free if others are not free. And yeah. I'm partly insane because of my autism, but precisely I try to find stability, order and clarity, and these documents that I've been promoting, they have helped me a lot. And just for the sake of helping myself, I need structure, discipline. Maybe it's excessive, that's the autistic aspect, but I need rigor, order in my mind, the autistic people, they need a daily routine. I've started practicing a daily routine, which I think is kind of good for many months, and yeah, I will keep working. Yeah. Work in progress.